The truth about motivation: there will be mornings when you wake up ready to conquer the world. And there will be others when you wake up ready to quit. That's when it hits you: motivation is fragile. It burns bright, but it burns out fast. Anyone can be inspired when the path is smooth. Anyone can chase their goals when the sky is clear. But discipline? Discipline shows up when motivation disappears. Motivation whispers, do it when you feel like it. Discipline commands, do it especially when you don't. Most people never change their lives, not because they lack desire, but because they keep waiting to feel ready. They chase the spark. They chase the perfect moment. And when the feeling fades, so does their effort. That's the trap. Because motivation was never meant to carry you, only to start you. It's discipline that takes you across the finish line. Discipline doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care about your mood, your schedule, or your comfort zone. It simply says, show up. And when you do over and over again, something powerful happens. You stop needing motivation altogether. The thing that once felt forced becomes natural. The thing that once felt heavy becomes habit. And one day, without even realizing it, you wake up as the person you always wanted to be, not because you were motivated, but because you were consistent. Motivation feeds on emotion. Discipline feeds on structure. Motivation runs on excitement. Discipline runs on commitment. That's why motivation is loud: it shouts, it cheers, it fades. But discipline? It's quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just works. Every time you push through resistance, you're building the muscle of discipline. And the stronger that muscle gets, the quieter your excuses become. That's why the most successful people aren't the most motivated, they're the most disciplined. They don't wait for the mood to strike, they move, and the mood follows. They don't chase hype, they create it through action. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is decision. One feels good. The other gets results. And here's the truth most people never learn: the day you stop needing motivation is the day you become unstoppable. Because discipline doesn't fade when life gets hard, it thrives there. It's forged in repetition, refined through boredom, and rewarded through progress. Every rep you lift, every page you write, every morning you rise, discipline whispers, I'm still here. It's the quiet power behind every success story. The unseen engine behind every transformation. And the best part? You already have it inside you. Rewiring the mind: discipline doesn't begin in the gym, or at your desk, or inside your to-do list. It begins in your mind, in that silent space between what you feel and what you choose. Every time you do something you don't feel like doing, you send a signal to your brain that says, I'm in control now. And that's how discipline rewires you, not all at once, but moment by moment. It doesn't shout. It builds. Brick by brick. Choice by choice. We look at people who seem unshakable, the ones who grind every day, who don't skip workouts, who stay focused while everyone else drifts, and we think, they must be different. But they're not. They just stopped negotiating with their weakness. See, motivation asks for comfort. Discipline demands growth. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel good. Discipline says, I'll do it until I feel good. And that's the shift most people never make. You can read every book, watch every speech, listen to every guru, and still be stuck, because you haven't decided who's in charge, your emotions or your purpose. Discipline is born the moment you stop being a slave to your feelings. It's when you stop asking, do I feel like it, and start asking, what needs to be done? The truth is, discipline doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're sad, anxious, or unmotivated. It doesn't even care if you failed yesterday. It only cares about one question: did you show up today? And if you did, even imperfectly, you're already winning. Because most people are still waiting for motivation to knock on their door. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it compounds. Like interest in your future self. The more you invest in it, the more it pays you back, not just in results, but in identity. You start to see yourself differently. You stop saying, "I want to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." And that's where the magic begins, when your actions and your identity align. You no longer fight to do the right thing. The right thing becomes who you are. You stop chasing habits. You become them. That's the quiet transformation discipline brings. It doesn't announce progress, it builds it, layer by layer, deep within you. One day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Not because of a single moment of motivation, but because of thousands of small, invisible moments when you didn't quit. Because you showed up when you didn't want to. Because you kept promises no one else saw. Because you were loyal to your future self. Motivation might inspire you. But discipline? Discipline defines you. Motivation gets you excited for the journey. Discipline makes sure you reach the destination. Motivation might change your day. Discipline changes your life. The weight of discipline. No one really talks about what discipline feels like because it's not glamorous. It's not fireworks or motivational speeches. It's not cinematic music or dramatic breakthroughs. It's quiet, repetitive, relentless. It's doing the same thing again and again and again, until it becomes who you are. There are days when discipline feels like a burden. Days when you wake up and your mind whispers, "You've done enough. Take a break. Rest." But deep down, you know the truth: discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. When you push through laziness, you're not being harsh on yourself, you're honoring your potential. Because every time you do the hard thing, you prove that your future matters more than your mood. Still, there will be moments when the weight of discipline feels unbearable. When progress is slow. When the effort feels invisible. When no one sees the work you're putting in. That's the test. Discipline will always test your patience before it rewards your persistence. And that's where most people give up, not because they failed, but because they mistook boredom for failure. They thought if it's not exciting, it's not working. But the truth is, boredom is the birthplace of mastery. Every athlete, every artist, every visionary you admire has lived through long seasons of quiet, invisible work. Days where nothing seemed to be happening, but everything was being built. That's what growth really feels like. It's not thrilling, it's uncomfortable. It's not fast, it's consistent. It's not loud, it's patient. Because discipline isn't about intensity. It's about endurance. Anyone can be disciplined for a day. Few can be disciplined for a decade. But those few? They're the ones who change their lives and the world. Discipline also means forgiving yourself when you fall short. Because failure isn't the opposite of discipline, it's part of it. Falling down isn't weakness. Staying down is. There were days I slipped, days I skipped the work, days I questioned if it even mattered. But every time I came back, every time I refused to let one bad day become a bad week, I built strength. That's when I realized, true discipline isn't perfection, it's persistence. It's not about never failing. It's about showing up after you fail. It's about trying again after you lose. It's about doing the work quietly while the world looks away. Because discipline doesn't seek attention. It creates transformation. So if you ever feel like you're losing momentum, remember this: the days you feel weakest are the days that matter most. Because every time you choose effort over excuses, you shift the direction of your future even if no one notices yet. You might not see the results today. You might not feel them tomorrow. But one day, the world will. And they'll call it luck. They'll call it talent. But you'll know the truth: it was discipline all along. When discipline becomes freedom, there comes a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like freedom. At first, you fight yourself every morning. You argue with your mind. You wrestle with excuses that sound reasonable and comfort that feels deserved. But one day, something shifts. You no longer debate. You no longer drag yourself out of bed. You just move. Because what used to be hard has become who you are. That's when discipline transforms from a rule into a rhythm. It stops being a checklist of things you have to do. It becomes the way you live. You no longer force yourself to show up, you want to. Because deep down, you've learned a profound truth: discipline doesn't take away your freedom, it creates it. When you're disciplined, you're free from guilt. Free from regret. Free from the weight of promises you keep breaking. You don't carry the anxiety of wasted time anymore because you know you're using your time with purpose. You stop fearing failure because you've already proven to yourself that you can rise every time you fall. You stop fearing effort because effort became your comfort zone. Discipline rewires your entire being. It turns chaos into structure, confusion into clarity, weakness into power. You begin to see that discipline isn't about control, it's about direction. It gives your energy a target. It gives your actions a meaning. It gives your life a path. And once you've lived with that kind of purpose, you can never go back to drifting. Because now, you know what alignment feels like. You've tasted peace, the kind that comes from living in integrity with yourself. And no distraction, no shortcut, no temporary pleasure can replace that. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it rewards you quietly, but its results speak loudly. People will start to notice your calm, your focus, your consistency. They'll see your progress and ask, "How did you do it?" They'll want the shortcut. But there is no shortcut. There's only the work, the small, unglamorous, daily work that no one sees. The part where you choose growth over comfort. The part where you show up even when it's inconvenient. The part where you keep going, simply because you said you would. That's where greatness is born. That's where self-respect grows. That's where your identity shifts from someone trying to change to someone who is changed. Because discipline doesn't just alter what you do. It transforms who you are. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel ready. Who acts, regardless of circumstances. Who finishes what they start. Who refuses to give up when things get hard. And when that becomes your nature, success stops being something you chase. It becomes something you embody. Discipline is not punishment. It's a promise to your future self. Every day you keep that promise, you're building a life that feels earned, not given. A life where peace replaces pressure, and purpose replaces procrastination. You stop living for motivation. You start living for meaning. Because motivation may light the spark, but discipline? Discipline builds the fire that never goes out.